Mic Drop Moments is sponsored by Grow Radio. Want to launch your own podcast? Grow Radio are here to help. Grow Radio has launched and supported countless podcasts, and they'd love to do the same for you. Just hit record and they'll handle the rest. No editing stress, no technical faff, just a great podcast released when you want. Need a little extra support? Grow Radio's workshops and courses make getting started easy. Let's bring your podcast to life. Message Grow Radio on social media or reach out to Gary Jones, the founder of Grow Radio. Let's make this happen. Welcome to Mic Drop Moments, and today I'm chatting with Shelley Wilson, author and writing mentor. Hello, Shelley.
Hello, Sandra. Thank you for having me.
Well, you're no stranger to the podcast and you've been on the podcast before, but we're not going to talk about your backstory today. You're a multi-genre author. You've been publishing books for years. And then suddenly this year you got an email that I expect every author dreads. And not only that, you weren't even in the country, you were having a holiday. So tell us the story behind that, and then we'll take it forward for the listeners.
No problem. So you're absolutely right. I was sat on a bench in Boston Harbour having the time of my life on holiday. And I think when you work for yourself, you put your out of office on, don't you? But you can't help but have a cheeky look at what's coming in. I think we all do that, don't we? And I kind of opened my phone, looked at my inbox, and it was from my publisher. And the subject line was, "We're closing." And I kind of was like, huh? What? Closing what? What are they closing? And obviously opened it to this very standard, short, matter-of-fact email. We've taken the decision. We're shutting our doors. Everything will be gone by the end of June. Thank you very much. Good night, Vienna. And it was like, what? Oh my! And to say, I spiraled.
Was it weeks away? It wasn't like months and months.
Oh, this was, yeah. We were on holiday the first week in June. So it was literally a matter of, right, by the end of this month, everything will have gone. So with them, I had 13 books. So I'm working on book 22 at the moment. So yeah, 13 of my titles were with them. And basically what they're saying is by the end of this month, they will have vanished off all platforms. You won't be able to buy them. They've gone. And that was it. There wasn't any explanation. There wasn't really this is what you can do. It was just so matter of fact. And I spiraled, absolutely spiraled, because it was, what on earth am I going to do? You know, I've worked so hard. I've been building my author business for 10 years, building up this platform. It's hard enough as it is. Oh my goodness. Fortunately, I was on holiday with my daughter, who seems to has a more level head than I do. And she was the one like, breathe, mum, breathe. It's all going to be okay. And I think in a way, it was good I was on holiday because I didn't answer. I knew they'd got my out of office back. So it was like I didn't have to respond. And I sat with it, cried, and just was like, this is it. I'm quite dramatic, as you might know. So it was, oh my goodness, that's it. My business is finished. I can't write another book. Everything's over. I'm going to go and get a job, at my local store or so. I catastrophized slightly. And yeah, bless my daughter. She was just fabulous at, right, this isn't the end of the world, Mum. Let's look at this differently. And I think at the same time, it was when you were asking for auditions for The Woman Who. So you obviously go out, you ask people to audition to speak and do all sorts of things. And I remember scrolling on the Facebook, watching everybody's auditions come through. And I think it was that moment where I kind of sat there and go, hang on a minute, this doesn't have to be a bad thing. I am getting control back. And that really prompted me to then jump into your Facebook group and kind of say, I'm putting myself forward here for, I think it was for the like chatting on stage, wasn't it? This has happened. I had no idea at that time. I had no idea what was going to happen. And it was very much, but you know what? It doesn't have to be bad. And so I did that little interview and obviously was absolutely honoured to be able to stand on the stage again. And I've pieced it together, a tiny step at a time since that big announcement. It was a lot to take in, but I think what happened, because they had about 50 authors on their books, I think they were inundated with what on earth is going on. And they then issued another email that was almost like an FAQ. So it was like, this is what will happen. This is how you do this, and that kind of answered everything that had been churning through my brain as I sort of sat in Boston and wondered what on earth was going on.
So I think not a lot of people realize that so you've been publishing through a publisher and you've also self-published as well, but not a lot of people realize that when you publish through a publisher, you don't own those books.
They don't belong to you. You write them, but the rights belong to the publisher.
Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. They say, "Oh, I'd love to be with a publisher," but you have no control. So what was the first thing you had to do? Because basically you watch your books just disappear into the ether and that's it. So what first step did you do to sort of reclaim those books?
So what happens is with the publisher, and this is kind of, so some publishers just go down, and that's it, they vanish. But because this was strategically, they decided they were going to close their doors, what they do is they give you a reversion of rights letter. So that basically gives you back the rights to your own book, so you can do whatever you want with them. And that was what we got by the end of, I think it was the 30th of June. Mine got emailed to me that basically states, we now give you back your books. They're yours again. So that gives me a couple of options then. I can self-publish them if I want, or I can pitch them to another publisher if I wanted to, or find an agent. So you're back in control basically. And as my daughter often said, you're in your Taylor Swift era, she kept saying.
Well, I was going to
Like
say,
getting it all back.
we liken it to Taylor Swift. She had to re-record all her content because obviously hers was stolen slightly different, but she had to re-record it and relaunch her whole catalogue. And you've got to basically do the same because you don't get your books back, you get the content back. But if you want to publish them, you've got to start from scratch.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've got a Word document. That's what I get back, just the Word document. So I've got to redo the covers. I've got to buy the ISBN numbers that obviously for your barcodes. I've got to format them and then I've got to relaunch them. And I think that was where the spiraling came in because 13 titles, it's like, where do I even start? What they had done, which was quite clever, is they did say, "Oh, I love the artwork that my publisher has produced. I mean, they are award winning, absolutely fantastic." But they said, "Oh, we can let you use the artwork, but it's going to cost you $300 per book."
Wow.
And I was just like, no, absolutely not. So again, it was like, right, I've got to start from scratch. I've got to literally create these books from a Word document and go and hopefully get them back out into the world.
Yeah. And you've decided not to republish all the books, have you? You're going to do them in stages, I think.
Yeah, that was probably one of the hardest decisions because when you write a book, you'll know it's like your baby. You put so much work into these things. But as you said, I'm a multi-genre author, so I started my writing career writing self-help books because I was in the holistic world. I also write the teen fantasy, rip your head off kind of stuff before moving on to romance. I'm not in the mind, body, spirit sector anymore. I've moved from that. I don't have my spa anymore. And so when I sat with those kind of thinking about the books that I brought out, it's like there are so many people better qualified than I am to bring out a self-help book. And so I thought, why do I need to? There is no real need to republish a lot of those kind of titles. I mean, most of them are in audio, they're available in audio, and I was able to transfer them all over to my own ACX account. So they're still available in audio. But yeah, and do you know, it was my dad that actually said it to me. I was offloading, I think, when I got back from Boston, and he said, "Well, you don't work in that field anymore, so do you need to? Just forget about them." And of course, I'm like the emotion. I'm like, "Oh, I can't just forget about them." And then when I got home, I was like, oh, "I hate it when he's right." Because he was. I was like, I don't actually need that so much in my portfolio. I can focus on the ones that were good, that sold well. So my very first book, I want to rewrite and update it, which was how I changed my life in a year. The others I can let go. I want to bring back out some of my young adult, a couple I'm going to let go, and then focus on writing more romance as well. So it's been a real shift in my own mindset and I guess the whole trajectory of my author career.
Yeah, so let's talk about 2026 because we're in 2026 now, and we're, going to amplify the impact you create. And there's a real focus now. I mean, you've published 21 books, you're just about to publish book 22. You have achieved that already. No one can take the fact away from you that you've published that many books, irrespective if they're out of print right now.
Yeah.
I think that's what they say, isn't it? They're out of print. Um, but the thing is, you've now moved into romance. You've now moved, you're publishing your own books. So what opportunity has that created for you going forward?
Having that choice, that freedom of choice, if you like. So I got my rights back. I'm sat with these decisions to make. Do I find another publisher? Do I self-publish? And in the end, I thought, yeah, I could find another publisher. Who's to say that this won't happen again? And then I'm back to square one again. And so I thought, actually, reflecting back on the whole Taylor Swift thing, why don't I start my own imprint, my own publishing company, my own way of bringing it out that is my own, almost my own label? And that's what and that was on the bench in Boston when I decided to do that. I was looking out, I can picture it, I can see it looking out over the harbour. The water was just as crystal clear. It was just still beautiful. I had a coffee in my hand, and it was like, I know what I'm going to do. And that was that moment when I was like, no, I'm going to start my own publishing imprint, and I'm going to bring it all out under my own name.
So that must be a golden opportunity. You wouldn't even, so if you were sat right here, right now, at the beginning of last year, and thinking and saying, "Oh, I'll start my," you wouldn't have even contemplated starting your own publishing company. So this is a fantastic opportunity for you.
It's something I think that I'd always thought that the future me, a 10-year away me would have contemplated. But you know what I'm like with tech. I'll stick my head in the sand when it comes to tech. So for me, learning the publishing software was just, oh my goodness, that's another person. There's no way I can understand and learn that. This then pulling the rug out from under me forced my hand, and I have already formatted my first book. So I've learnt it. I've had to learn it. And as I sat there doing it, I was like, this isn't as hard as I thought it was.
Which is often the
So
case, isn't it? We
I
build
know
those mountains and then they turn out to be
exactly.
molehills.
Exactly. So really, it was the nudge that I needed to bring all my goals forward, and the learning. I'm an eternal student. I love learning anyway. And I think just finding this, it looks scary as hell when you put it up on the screen, this, all these bells and whistles. And I'm like, oh my goodness. But my lovely son, who's a graphic designer, he was like, you don't need any of that lot. This is the panel that you need. Just focus on that and you'll be okay. And I think, yeah, that took a lot of the fear out for me. And once I got into it, oh my goodness, it was like, yeah, bang, 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 sorted, done.
And that's a skill that you probably now will use and reuse that will come easier each time that you do.
Yeah.
So what are you excited about this year? What are you excited about? Because this has opened up a whole new world for you.
It has. It has. I absolutely adore working with writers who have that idea, that first concept. I've got an idea. What now? What do I do? So I guess my zone of genius, if you like, is teasing all those, pulling on the threads, getting it out of their head down on the page. And I love that part of my work. And then holding them accountable as they write it. And then I get to a stage where I then send them off out into the world to find their editors and their publishers and or their formatters or whatever. And what this has now created for me is I can't edit. I'm not an editor. I can find editors, but I can keep hold of my clients and take them all the way through to the end. I can help them now. I can assist them with that publishing, which I could never do before. And for me, just to be able to see them all the way through from start to finish is just the most exciting thing of all of it, really, for me. I always say to my clients, make sure you take a video of you unboxing your first book. And so now I get to be even more of a part of that for them, because we've created it together. So, yeah, very excited about that.
That's fantastic. So book 22,
Yeah.
I think I have a sneaking suspicion what it might be, having read your first rom-com.
Yeah.
Is it a rom-com?
It is. It is a rom-com. It is a tour around Yorkshire in a motorhome. So we're talking grumpy sunshine, close proximity. Let's just throw all sorts at these characters and see how they get on.
I love it. And I know that you're going through the post-editing process as we speak, as we're
Yeah.
recording.
Yeah.
So what does 2026 hold for you? What do you think your main focus is going to be in 2026?
I think I've come to a bit of a realization actually, and this has happened over the past sort of 12, 18 months, that I've been promoting myself, if you like, as a writing mentor and author. Whereas I've realized I'm an author who also mentors. And that was a huge light bulb moment for me. And so this year, the focus is I'm an author. That, I've got 22 books. I have created all these stories. I've got so many more that I want to bring out. Oh, and by the way, I can help you write yours. And I think that that has taken so much of the pressure off me because I can talk about books and writing till the cows come home. I love it. Absolutely love that. Um, and so that's been a real shift in my mindset. And I'm actually really excited about kind of really getting my teeth into that this year.
And I think, you actually share, which I love, the author journey. So,
Yeah.
you talk about the shitty first draft and you talk about the self-edit and then it goes off to editors. You talk about, oh, I can't write that one anymore. I've jumped to another one because I've just got a block there, and you go off and, let's share with the audience. You go off in your camper van called Snoopy and
Yeah.
you go off not just to relax, but you also use it for you go off and write and you
Yeah.
research. You go and research all your Vikings for your young adult books, which I
Yeah.
don't want to know about. But you go off and research. Obviously, you went to Yorkshire to research the locations for the rom-com, which obviously will be made a film. We know that. That's
Obviously.
for the other one. But you've actually launched your own podcast as well. Tell us
I
about that.
have. I have, and that came from the bench in Boston. It was all the same thing. It was that moment of realization that other writers might have this situation where they've suddenly got, oh my gosh, my publisher's shut. What do I do now? And but everything I'm doing, having to republish my books, is how I. It was, if it's your first book, it's the same process. And I thought, well, I should be talking about this. I should be saying, this is what I'm going through at the moment. Whether this is something you're going through as well, or it's your first time, it's the same thing. You still need an ISBN, you still need to format, you still need a cover design, you still need an editor, rah, rah, rah. And I just thought, do you know what? I need to talk about this. I need to be more visible. Don't know where I got that from. I need to be more visible out there. And somebody gave me a mic once upon a time, and I just seem to have this thing now about
We can't
wanting to
prize it
talk.
off you. My last awards almost became the Shelley Wilson show. Everywhere you look, there you were with a microphone. Um, but
It has opened doors though, and I think the podcast. I was like, how am I going to do this? And obviously Snoopy, as you know, everywhere I go, every networking event, if I'm parked at, people come in and go, I knew I was in the right place. I saw Snoopy in the car park. He's his own identity, and I just thought it'd be fun, a bit quirky, to have the podcast from the van. So I record it in the van, which means I can record it when I'm anywhere. But I've kept them purposefully, I've kept them short, like 10 minutes. So they're just your three top tips on a specific area of writing, editing, marketing, publishing, and just fun. And I did have a lot of fun doing them. So they're YouTube, so they're all filmed, and we're planning on the next couple of seasons. We've got them ready to go, and the bloopers should be coming out soon as well.
oh, I can't wait to see those. But we will share the link to it's Campervan Writer show, is it? Yeah, we
Yeah,
will share the
Campervan Writer Show.
links to that, and obviously to your Amazon linked for your books. But are there any on Amazon at the moment? The self-published one.
So yeah, if you go onto Amazon, you'll see the audiobooks. So ACX is part of Amazon, so you'll see them all in audio, and then there are. well, Floating Solo is my I self-published that, so that's on Amazon, and my planner. But I think everything else is has just vanished off that, and Waterstones, everything, it's just all gone.
Yeah, and that is it, isn't it? When the publisher goes, it goes off Amazon, it goes out of Waterstones, it just disappears overnight.
Literally, yeah, disappears. Yeah,
Well, I really
yeah,
do admire your resilience. I admire the fact that you've just taken this and basically flipped it into an opportunity. And I can tell from you how excited you are about
yeah.
it. Just know, I mean, this month we're talking about amplify your impact, and I just know that you're going to amplify what you've already achieved. And basically you're just putting it out there to the world that here I am, Shelley Wilson, author and publisher.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who
So,
knows what next?
yeah. Well, congratulations. I always ask my guests to leave the audience with a mic drop moment, a top tip, piece of advice, or something you would like to share. What would yours be?
Do you know, I think I'm going to share, and I might have shared this before, but it's one that I keep coming back to all the time, and it's my favourite quote because I think it matches this, and that is leap and grow your wings on the way down. And I think that's what I've done with this whole situation. You know, from that bench in Boston, I've jumped and I am growing, frantically growing my wings.
I hope you've got a picture of that bench in Boston. The defining moment. But yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Shelley, for bearing all and basically sharing that journey with us, because I think it's really inspirational and worth sharing. Today I've been chatting with Shelley Wilson. Thank you.